Today in Nerd History!
You can ask almost anyone what Mario's job is and they will give you the same answer. Our miniature mustachioed man is a plumber. But with as little plumbing as he does, wouldn't it make as much sense to say that he's a globe-trotting adventurer, a star athlete, a party planner, a brawler, a doctor, or a janitor for an ungrateful tropical island? How can we reconcile this guy's erratic employment record? I mean, an HR generalist would have some serious concerns, unless this guy has really only had one job the entire time. What if Mario is an actor, and every game he appears in is a show that he's putting on, with familiar faces filling out the other roles? As you're likely aware, this thought doesn't entirely stem from the land of fan theory. At least a small element of it was confirmed by Nintendo mastermind Shigeru Miyamoto in 2015 when he cutely nodded an affirmative when he was asked if Mario 3's stage-like title screen was meant to indicate that it was a play. But the warp pipe goes deeper than that. In a 2012 interview with Game Informer, Miyamoto likened the game cast to a favorite animation series of his, Popeye. He described the Mushroom Kingdom crew as one big family or maybe a troupe of actors. Folks, this is the internet. We don't let anything go so easily. So Dorkly proposes for your approval a serious examination of whether or not Mario is an actor. While it would be very easy to dismiss this whole endeavor as part of the internet's current obsession with fan theories, connected universes, and all information having meaning, the fundamental concept of Mario being an actor predates the modern internet. In fact, it predates most Mario games. The first instance we found of people imagining Mario as an actor actually comes from a bizarre vintage Mario story that appeared in the Japanese magazine Famitsu in 1990. The story, the youthful Super Mario Brothers, not only supposes Mario's full name, Mario Michelangelo Antonio, I like that last bit, but serves up his unlikely origin. MMA is a young Italian boy from the country who moves to Rome to study acting for films, only to have to wind up acting in, no, not porn, video games to make ends meet. Not only did the story serve up some lustful shirtless Mario illustrations by pulp artist Goji Nishihara, are we sure this isn't porn? But also the very first outline of our core premise. The entire cast of the Mario games take up different roles depending on what is needed from the game. Also, the games are named after the actors for some reason. But where would this concept actually emerge from? Well, for that we have to turn back to the Mario games from before 1990. As we mentioned before, the core familiarity of the actor Mario argument is rooted in Miyamoto's acknowledgement that Super Mario Bros. 3 resembles a stage play. This is clear from the game's first moments, with a red theater curtain that rises and a title descending as if it were a diegetic piece of a live show's set. It certainly aids the argument that all the blocks and bricks and hills on the game's set cast shadows as if they were lit by stage lights. Following this logic, if Mario's stage is the levels that the players engage with, the scene concludes with Mario exiting stage right. This black and white space is backstage. Mario 3 is easily the most consistent of the thespian theming, but these accents extend into the US release of Mario 2 as well. The character selection screen once again features a familiar red curtain around our core 4, but it's really the text that sticks out to me. Instead of please select character, we have please select player. I'll concede immediately that this is most likely just a slightly off translation, but with the stage curtain around them, you don't have to stretch very far to read it as player, as in one who puts on a play, or actor, if you will. Through time and space, I can already feel an army of viewers of this very video frothing at the mouth to remind me that Mario 2's US release is a reskin of Doki Doki Panic, so let me hit you with this bit in return. The curtain framing was not present in the original game, only the reskin, which also happened to hit the US shelves the same month, October 1988, as the theater-forward Mario 3 came out in Japan. Too good to be coincidence, right? If we want to push just a little bit further, Jeremy Parrish of Retronauts has pointed out that the silhouetted subspace, accessed via magic potions, does kind of resemble a backstage area. But this also does strike me as a kind of accidental confluence of theming. If we want the real deal backstage experience, we need to push ahead in the Mario timeline to 1993's Super Mario All-Stars. This game compilation doesn't feature the red curtain that we've come to know and love, but it does feature silhouetted versions of the characters carrying on hushed conversations until the lights come up. No explanation is more satisfying than saying that these are actors waiting for the start of the show. Consistency of the stage motif does end here, but an official promo for All-Stars opens a new line of questioning. Perhaps Mario is a film actor, not a stage actor. It certainly would explain why the gang is pulling up to a red carpet premiere. Airing in 1994, this was one of the first times we got to see characters like Peach and Bowser and the Koopalings interact in a friendly and casual manner. It doesn't look like there's any real history of serial kidnapping or reptilian regicide on anyone's mind here. Also note the very new donk-looking full-size humans. This is representative of a different populated world, abstracted from the world of the games, a world where Mario is a big enough name to headline movies named for and about himself. Though these can't be recreations of actual events, otherwise the actor playing Bowser would have to be delivering his performances mo-capped from a maximum security prison. So really, this is a fictional universe inside of another fictional universe. As the Mario games jumped into the third dimension, the acting clues seem to forego theater in favor of film and TV iconography. One notable theme element that is so obvious hidden in plain sight is the Lakitu in Mario 64 holding a camera. Sure, this moment has function, serving to introduce the players of 2D Marios into the relatively new world of 3D platformers, but it's also a persistent choice. Lakitu doesn't just go away once the camera angle switches to its perspective, you can also see the reflection in a mirror in Bowser's castle. At best it's a movie, at worst Mario's the star of his own Truman Show and doesn't even realize it. As 3D graphics got more sophisticated, the filmic theming went even bolder. Mario Power Tennis also features a much more straightforward premise of a blooper reel that plays when the player wins the Star Thunder Cups. These display outtakes of the real canon cut that we've seen in the game. The age-old question, why Mario and Bowser set their history aside to play tennis together, has a simple answer. Because they're literally just making a movie together. But who are these movies for? Well, that is a harder question to answer. If this really is a universe within a universe, then the player's role is some kind of guiding master hand of fate, willing the events along for the purpose of an unseen audience. The Mario and Luigi RPG series seems to have a very specific idea of who these movies are for. Mario and Luigi. The very first game in the handheld series, Superstar Saga, features a locale called Yoshi Theater, a Cineplex that happens to be playing Nintendo-themed flicks, including a Kirby story, The Legend of Staffy, and one just called M&L. Yes, it seems to be the movie of the very game that the player's currently engaging with. This bizarre, recursive loop seems like it couldn't get any stranger, and yet, it does. The credits of the game reveal an audience. You're literally playing the movie that is screening at Yoshi Theater. How does that work? Remember in Gremlins 2 when the Gremlins interrupt the movie that you're watching by making shadow puppets in the theater, but then the camera cuts to inside the theater that you're supposedly sitting in until a movie theater usher finds Hulk Hogan in your theater and has him go beat up the Gremlins of the movie that you're both currently watching and are in? Well, it's like that, but somehow more confusing. This self-referential fourth wall annihilating confusion was such a weird sidestep it became difficult for us to parse the information we were looking at. It was at this point that we decided we needed to go to the big guns to get more answers. So we turned to the internet's foremost authority on all things Mario, Super Mario Broth. Running a blog, a Twitter, and a Patreon, Super Mario Broth specializes in shining a light on obscure and little-known tidbits of Mario history and lore. Who could be better to help us out? Right off the bat, Super Mario Broth took us one layer deeper on the Superstar Saga, with something we hadn't noticed. When the game's remake was released in 2017, the posters in Yoshi Theater had changed. They came to feature characters like Broke Madame and Broke Monsieur, who don't show up until the third game of the Mario and Luigi RPG series, or Prince Dreambird, who's imprisoned in stone until the fourth game. Not exactly following what this means? Well, Super Mario Broth explains. What would make the continuity work is if the remake is not just a remake, but an in-universe recreation of the events of the first game. In other words, even movies inside games are getting reboots now. Going deeper, Super Mario Broth brought to our attention the WarioWare spin-off, Game & Wario, specifically an ad in which Wario tries to scam money using a service called Crowdfarter. And while I mostly just want to let you know that someone at Nintendo officially approved Crowdfarter as a concept, Super Mario Broth points out that this has deeper implications. This is just further elevating the series concept of the game being manufactured by its own characters. And this is where things started to really go off the rails. Discussing Mario Maker, we really weren't expecting much more evidence to the actor Mario theory than the play button resembling a film-style clapperboard. But we went down a deep hole. Literally. Super Mario Broth pointed out to us that when Mario falls down a bottomless pit, that there are one of 8 possible long recordings that'll play, and you could hear Mario interact with various objects. It's clear that this is supposed to represent him returning to some kind of backstage area. Where things get really bonkers is, you could hear Mario talking to duplicates of himself.
Oh, Mama! Oh, Mario!
As Super Mario Bros. Postulates, Mario talks to copies of himself, implying that there is no single Mario character, and that each of the different Marios is a different actor portraying the role of Mario. Note that in the game data, these audio files are all tagged drama in total affirmation of the actor theory. But really they should also be tagged, like existential horror. These are definitely some mind-boggling Mario revelations, but it seems like most of our evidence sidesteps the modern mainline games. The big boys like Sunshine, Galaxy, 3D World all lack theatrical or film trappings. If Mario really was an actor, wouldn't Odyssey feature some kind of hint? Absolutely. And it does. Easy to forget about in this massive game is this little theater in New Donk City, where pedestrians are queued up to see the big show that one patron refers to as one of the all-time greats. What could they mean other than Super Mario Bros., the one that started it all? If you walk into the pipe on the side of the screen, you can play the movie in front of their eyes. There are so many questions here. Does the audience understand that what's on screen is a game? Would it ever have started if Mario hadn't shown up? Are these the same normal proportion humans from the Mario All-Stars commercials? Are these the same movies that play in Yoshi Theater? At the end of all of it, we're left with a bigger question than the one that we started with. What is Mario? The easy answer is the creation of Shigeru Miyamoto, whatever he sees fit. Miyamoto is credited as game director on all the mainline titles that introduced the theatrical framing device. He's the guy who refers to whether Bowser has one child or 7 children in terms of what story is being told. He's the one who once nodded with such a vague affirmation that it sent us on a journey to discover how deeply we care about the reality and world of the characters that we interact with on screen. Mario may not be an actual actor, not in the traditional sense at least, but he's an actor in the most meaningful way possible, by taking and embodying the role of whatever we need him to be. But also, he's totally an actor, guys. Calling it right now.